Good evening. My name is Dawn Hunter, and I'm the Executive Director of the Greater Vineland Chamber of Commerce. We'd like to welcome you to the Vineland Board of Education School Board Candidates Forum 2016. We are pleased to host this annual program, and I will be the moderator for tonight's forum. We want to thank Wallace School for having the venue here, and we also want to thank the Vineland Public School Broadcasting Group for taping the event. This forum will be available multiple times prior to the election on local channels 9 and 41. Thank you to the candidates for your participation. You all deserve a lot of credit for stepping up and volunteering to help your community. In hosting this forum, our goal is to provide an opportunity for the voting public to get to know the candidates before you go to the polls. There are 9 candidates running for 3 open seats on the board, and each seat is a full 3-year term. One of the candidates, Anthony Scott, could not join us this evening, but the remaining 8 candidates are seated in alphabetical order here on the stage. First we have Michelle Cruz, Nicholas Fiocchi, Cedric Holmes, Eugene Medio, Edward Morvay, Alan Mounier, John Sabrana, and Jean Smith. As a courtesy to our candidates and all of us in attendance, please make sure your cell phones are turned off for the duration of the forum. The format for tonight's forum is each candidate will have 90 seconds for an opening statement, 90 seconds to answer each question, and 90 seconds for a closing statement. Because we do have a large number of candidates this evening, it's important that everyone does adhere to the time allotments. You don't have to use all 90 seconds if you don't need it. Our timekeeper this evening is Kathy Pantaleone from the Greater Vineland Chamber of Commerce. She's seated here in the front row, assisted by our past president, Kathy Farinaccio. And she will signal you with a yellow card at 20 seconds remaining in your allotted time, and a red card when your time has expired. We ask that when your time has expired, you could finish your sentence but not continue any further. So I'll call on you to answer a question in the order that you're seated, and these questions have been prepared by our advocacy committee, input from previous school board forums as well, from the general public, and we actually asked each candidate this year to submit 2 questions that they might like to ask the panel if they had the opportunity themselves. So now we're going to begin with your 90-second opening statements, and we'll start with Ms. Cruz. And you want to remember to turn your microphone on before you speak.
Thank you for that. Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Cruz. I am a Vineland resident. I've been in the Vineland public system, education, 1st through 12th grade. I am a New Jersey Stars recipient from Vineland High School. Therefore, I went to Cumberland County College, and then I did my bachelor's degree with Stockton University. While at Stockton, I got various opportunities to go to Washington, D.C. and do my internship there for international affairs, and then also to the University of the Virgin Islands. The reason why I say this is because I wanted to come back to my city and become a great member of a beautiful city that I'm proud to be. I want to be a part of the Board of Education because I have a 2-year-old daughter. As many of you already know, when you become a parent, you want to be involved in your child's life, and especially in their education. I'm very glad to be here, and although I have not been on board meetings and I'm not very aware of the process, I feel like we all need a first step in the right direction, and initiative is what matters. And I'm very happy to be here and learn from previous and past board members. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fiocchi.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to thank the Vineland Chamber of Commerce and Wallace School for hosting this forum. A little bit about myself. Born and raised in Vineland, New Jersey, and I attended Vineland Public Schools. After high school, I attended Immaculata University, where I achieved a Bachelor's of Science in Biology, and from there I went to Rutgers, New Brunswick, where I partook in post-baccalaureate studies in business and finance. Currently a business owner here in Vineland. I'm also a member of the Vineland Chamber of Commerce, Vineland Rotary Club, Vineland Downtown Improvement District's Economic Vitality Committee, and I'm also commissioner on the Vineland Housing Authority. I'm running for the Vineland Board of Ed because I have the time and energy to give back. I hope to have a family one day of my own, and I can be proud to send them to Vineland Public Schools. I also hope that we can retain staff and encourage our young people to return to our community after completion of their education. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Holmes.
Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Cedric Holmes. Before I begin, I'd like to thank everyone who made this forum possible and all of you for being here tonight. I graduated Vineland High School in 2015, and unlike anyone on this stage, I've been a student of the Vineland Public School system within the past decade. This gives me a fresh perspective on policy and agenda items that I believe is not only an asset to the board, but a necessity. I have been to nearly all of the Vineland Board of Ed meetings for the past 2 years, and I have learned a lot. Most importantly, I've learned that as a board member, it is fundamental to be able to work on a team. I believe this experience and my passion for education certainly qualifies me for a position of board member. My 13 years in Vineland Public Schools have taught me to never settle for less. It is with this mentality I decided to run for the board. My platform is relatively simple. I want to ensure 3 things for our students and the district: safety, accountability from central administration down to staff, and the opportunity for our students to reach their highest potential through quality education. I can't do this by myself. To accomplish my ambitious yet certainly achievable goals, I'll need the support of the community. Our parents, teachers, and administrators must all come together to ensure quality education for those who matter the most, the children. A vote for me, or any candidate for that matter, isn't a complete solution to our district's problems, but a vote for me is a step in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Medio.
Good evening. I'd like to thank all the people who came out to listen to this forum. I was born and raised in Vineland. Like Cedric, I graduated from Vineland High School, but it was a little more than 10 years ago. I graduated from Georgetown University with a Bachelor of Science in Biology. As far as other things in my background, I was a founding member of the Vineland Basketball Association. I was past treasurer of the JCs. I've been involved in community organizations and community efforts for as long as I can remember, going back to high school. I think that it's nice to tell everybody your background, but I think it's also important to tell everybody that we have to look to the future. One of the biggest problems this school system and several other systems will be facing is a cut in aid, which Chris Christie has already indicated is coming, and I'm sure that with such a massive cut as he recommended, that they're going to have some kind of a deal with Senator Sweeney, and there's going to be some lesser cut, the same kind of thing that happens when your mayor and city council, as they have in the past, tell you that they're going to have a 20-cent tax hike, and then you wipe your brow when it's only 5 cents. So this cut is going to be from 70 million down to, I don't know. But that's one of the problems we have to look at. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Morvay.
Dawn, everyone in attendance, thank you for having me this evening. My name is Edward Morvay, better known as Ed to my friends and family. I'm a long-time, Vinelander, born in Landis Township at a little hospital called Newcomb Hospital, so I've been here for quite a few years. My family had a store on Landis Avenue, Morvay's Market, where I learned at an early age what was important in life and what was important as far as my family is concerned and my children are concerned. My wife, myself, my 2 children, my 3 grandchildren have and are attending the school systems. My reason for running this evening is specifically that, my 3 grandchildren, to make sure that they get the education that they need to succeed. Also, that the city of Vineland reaps the rewards for the education that our children will be receiving in the future. My intention getting on the board is to work closely with city council, to work closely with the mayor, whoever that may be, to work with Center City Merchants Association, to work with Sandy Frasiski, to identify the needs required moving forward for our school system. I hope in the future that I can do this along with your help and look forward to serving on the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mounier.
My name is Alan Mounier. I'm a concerned citizen without political ambitions, just an old scout trying to do his duty for the community. Having spent my life in education, I place high value on a good education. As a former member of the Vineland Board of Education, I was always happy to say yes, but never afraid to say no. Supporting the superintendent's recommendations is not the primary function of the board. Rather, the board's business is to see that the schools are effectively and efficiently run, and we can do better. Vineland schools offer great opportunities, but student achievement is often disappointing. We need to improve. We need to maintain discipline from K through 12. To do less puts our students and staff at risk and undermines the quality of education that we provide. We are facing huge cuts in state funding. We need to find ways to make ends meet without sacrificing staff, programs, or with increasing taxes, without increasing taxes. That's a difficult task, but it's not impossible. I could go on, but time is short, so I'll just pledge an earnest effort to make education in Vineland the best it can be. My name appears at the bottom of the ballot where it's easy to find, number 9. I would appreciate your support on Election Day. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sabrana.
Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to thank the Greater Vineland Chamber of Commerce and Dawn Hunter for sponsoring this forum so I can present myself as a candidate for re-election to the Vineland Board of Education. My name is Faustino Sabrana, but most people know me as John. I'm a lifelong resident of Vineland, and I had a proud 1968 graduate of Vineland High School. I have 2 sons, both VHS grads, and 3 grandchildren who have attended Vineland schools. My wife of 6 years was a teacher for 33 years and is now an adjunct professor at Rowan University. I have a bachelor's degree in communications and journalism and a 45-year career almost entirely devoted to media, radio, TV, and newspapers. I retired December 31st after 20 years as our district's Director of Communications. During those years, I developed a broad range of media and image enhancement activities. Those activities required attendance at all but a handful of Vineland Board of Education meetings, hundreds. I was honored to be elected last year to serve out a 1-year term on the board. I'm also the only incumbent now on this stage. The transition from employee to board member was not an easy one. The learning curve is definitely steep. But serving on 4 board committees this year has broadened my knowledge base and my experience. This district faces many challenges and difficult decisions in the months and the years ahead. I believe I am uniquely qualified to serve the interests of the students, the staff, the administration, and the taxpayers of Vineland as a board member for the next 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Smith.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. My name is Jean Smith, and excuse me, my background is a Vineland resident for the last 40-some years. I am recently retired from the Commercial Township Board of Education, where for 40 years I was principal and also a teacher. Currently, I am teaching as a substitute both in Bridgeton, Vineland, and Millville. The credentials that I have a master's degree in administration, a master's degree in reading. I'm a reading specialist, substance abuse counselor, and I bring to the Board of Education the experience, expertise, and knowledge of how a school system should be running and can be run. I'm passionate about education. I want the best for our students, for our staff, for our teachers, and for our administration. And for that reason, I am running for the board.
Thank you. We will now proceed to our questions. And so the audience knows the questions were not provided in advance for the candidates. In our first round, it's going to be a two-part question to you. I will ask each of you if you have attended school board meetings in the past, and then a second question specific to you. So we'll start with Ms. Cruz. Have you attended school board meetings?
No.
What do you see as the primary work and responsibility of the Board of Education?
I believe that the Board of Education needs to work hand in hand with the Vineland school systems, 1 through 12, as well as functioning in budgeting and providing a broader spectrum for these grades.
Thank you. Mr. Fiocchi, have you attended school board meetings?
Yes, I have attended school board meetings, but probably not as frequently as some others in this room. But that being said, I'm still abreast of what's going on in my community as being a member here and living in the area.
Okay. And what do you see as the top two challenges that the Vineland School District is facing right now?
Obviously, the budget. As Medio said, if this plan goes through with Christie and we have the $70 million decrease in funding, we're going to have to make up that money somewhere out, trying to lose jobs and while keeping class sizes down and keeping extracurricular activities going. So that's the main issue that I see coming forward. My biggest thing is keeping class sizes down. So I think that class sizes are continuing to grow, and sometimes it's detrimental to growth and education, so I'd like to continue to reduce class sizes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Holmes, have you attended school board meetings?
Yes.
Okay, I think you mentioned in your opening remarks you've been to quite a few.
Everyone except maybe 2 or 3.
Okay. Mr. Holmes, are you committed to continue to improve the quality of special education in the Vineland School District and advocate for the special needs population?
Yes, but I believe we can do more in providing an environment that they're comfortable in learning and that our students without special, I think right now, sometimes we mix our regular students, I don't want to say regular, but students like me that don't have special needs with students who do have special needs. So I think that we can provide them an environment that is comfortable for them to learn and comfortable for our teachers to teach.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Medio, as you are a past school board member, have you attended any school board meetings since you left the board?
No, I think I attended enough before I left the board to have experience.
Okay. And as you have not only been a board member, but you are also a past president of the Vineland School Board. So in reflecting back on your tenure during that time, what would you have done differently?
The only thing I would have done differently is I would have been more adamant about having a budget in place earlier and having a better budget process than we had. And if I'm elected, I certainly expect to do that.
All right, thank you. Mr. Morvay, have you attended school board meetings?
Yes, I have, Yes, I have somewhat infrequently, but I have attended.
And can you briefly describe what factors you believe are necessary to have a positive, productive relationship with school administration and specifically the superintendent?
Well, that's a leading question at this point. Thank you, Dawn.
I thought it was a good question.
Yes, you did. There's no doubt that from a board standpoint, there has to be a strong interrelationship between ourselves and the superintendent. However, that being said, we have to recognize the fact that we're placing a burden of responsibility on that superintendent. And we must endeavor to, in most cases, and I won't say all cases, back whatever's needed for her or him, whoever it may be, to move this school in the proper direction. That being said, nothing is left on the table. And by that I'm saying that there is nobody that gets a free ride, whether it be the superintendent or the maintenance person at the bottom of the tier, so to speak. I think that the superintendent has done an excellent job. I think there's more to be done, and hopefully with the 9 members going forward at the 1st of January, she's given, since she will be the superintendent the opportunity to continue to improve the school in the direction that these 9 members feel fit.
Thank you. Mr. Mounier, as you are also a past school board member, have you attended any board meetings since you left the board?
I have.
Okay. And what do you think can be done to improve our Vineland High School graduation rate?
Well, we clearly need to create a situation in which learning is encouraged and made possible. I think that one of the problems that we face is the lack of discipline from an early period in education. One of the problems that we have in high school is a sort of a distillation of the discipline problems that haven't been corrected in the lower grades. So we need to have discipline for a couple of reasons, one of which, maybe the most important of which, is that when there's disruptions in the classroom, there's not education going on. We need to have uninterrupted instruction so that those students who want to learn can learn. And we should strengthen our alternative education approach so that those who are disruptive can find a learning environment that's more suited to their personalities and behavior.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sobrana, as you were serving as a board member this past year, I'll ask you if you were absent from any board meetings, and if so, how many?
I was not.
Okay. And your question is, in reflecting back on your year as a school board member, what was the most challenging aspect of that experience, and how did you handle it?
Well, as I said, the transition from employee to board member was difficult, and it's a completely different perspective on the activities of the district. And not having a financial background, educating myself about the budget process, about the tax increases, about the tax rate, and changes that were being made in the operation of the school district and specific staffing at the schools was very difficult.
Thank you. Ms. Smith, have you attended school board meetings?
No, I have not.
Okay. And do you support an increase in the local school tax rate, and if so, at what increase? And if not, you can explain your position on that.
Okay. In light of the extreme devastation to the budget here in the city of Vineland, I do support a tax increase, and I do that because we have children at stake. And if we cannot provide children with expert education, because we are packing classrooms with 40 and 50 children, we're cutting our art and sports programs, our music programs. I think that is a huge disservice to our students, and therefore I support a tax increase.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Cruz, the Vineland School Board functions on a committee system. So as a board member, which committee would you hope to serve on and why?
I'm unaware of the committees, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, that's fine. No problem. Mr.
You can have
Fiocchi, what do you believe is the role of the school board when dealing with personnel issues, such as staff appraisals, requests for promotions, hiring personnel, etc.?
I think obviously everything comes down from the superintendent. You know, our role is to support the superintendent and oversee policy. It's not our role to hire and fire and promote individuals, but obviously our input should be taken into consideration.
Okay. Mr. Holmes, state regulations require teachers must be provided opportunities to hone and increase their skills on a consistent basis. What are your ideas on how to implement those opportunities for them?
Provide staff development. They go to workshops. We host workshops at our schools. Staff development.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Medio, do you have any ideas on how we can encourage our youth through our school district to come back and establish their careers in the Vineland area after they might have gone away to college?
Well, the obvious answer to that is you have to have some sort of working relationship with the city government to provide more opportunity and to increase businesses settling here in Vineland. And to be honest with you, I see that this has become some kind of an issue. This was an issue, I would say, 20 years ago. It's an issue 10 years ago. It's an issue today. As far as helping and having students come back to Vineland, my record is 100%. My three children graduated from Vineland High. They were all honor students, and they're all living in Vineland. So I'm sure I'll be able to help a lot with that problem.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Morvay, the evaluation of teachers and principals is closely tied to student performance. Do you believe that the upper echelon administrators should be evaluated by the same standard?
I most certainly do. There's a consideration there that, as I stated a few minutes ago, everybody in the school system is subject to being checked over to make sure that what they're doing is correct, and they should be evaluated by other people within the district, whether it be, unfortunately, the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, all the way down through the administration. Everybody's held accountable. I served and was a plant manager for a large printing company. And I, as the manager of a printing company, had the responsibility to the owner of the company. I was judged on what I was able to do and what I was not able to do. Therefore, it is my opinion that everybody in our school district is held to a higher standard and must be seen through other people's eyes as to their abilities or inabilities. How to go about that is the course that would have to be taken by the 9 members up here to set up and establish a program to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mounier, with the Governor Christie's proposed fair funding formula that several candidates have mentioned this evening, the Vineland School District is at risk of losing a substantial amount of state aid. How would you propose the school board deal with that if and when it happens?
Well, of course, we first have to know the magnitude of the problem. You can't solve a problem unless you understand it. At this point, we don't really know exactly what we're up against. My long-term opinion is that this district does not make the best use of its resources. So I would say we should economize to the extent that's possible. And by that, I mean that we need to find out who is functioning properly, the sorts of purchases that we make that are unnecessary or that are wasteful, and so forth. I do not like the idea of raising taxes. I don't think that it's necessary. I think we could do far better by economies of operation, by cleverness, by not hiring consultants when we can have people in-house to do the work that needs to be done, and so forth. It's a very complicated issue. It's not easy, and it won't be easy to solve, but I think if we apply ourselves cleverly and conscientiously, we can deal with that problem when it comes up.
Thank you. Mr. Sobrana, in the area of board performance, what are the results that you believe are most important, and how do you think the board should be held accountable for those results? Absolutely. In the area of board performance, what are the results that you believe are most important, and how do you think the board should be held accountable for those results?
Well, the board does a self-evaluation every year, but I think what's important overall is that there's a sincere effort to build consensus on every issue, and that there's a robust discussion, questions asked, questions answered, information flowing back and forth, and that at the end, the decisions that are made in the best interest of the students and the staff, and of course, the community at large.
Thank you. Ms. Smith, if a parent approaches you directly with a complaint about a teacher, what would be the first thing you would do to resolve the issue, and how should the process work after that?
If a parent were to approach a teacher or approach me as a board
Approach
member.
you with a complaint about a
Okay.
teacher.
First of all, as a board member, I'm a member of a team of people. I'm not a one-man show. And I would ask that person if they have discussed it first and foremost with the teacher. If it has not been resolved with the teacher, they would have to follow the chain of command, which would be the administration in the school, whether it's the principal, assistant principal, or whoever, the person is. But I would discourage a parent from approaching me personally about another teacher, a teacher in the district, because that is unprofessional and unethical.
Thank you. I'd like to ask a question of all of you, again, one question for all of you. What personal values do you possess that you feel would make you an effective board member if you're elected? Ms. Cruz?
I feel like I possess sincerity and passion. I know that I haven't been a sitting board member or haven't been a teacher per se, but I have passion. I do have a 2-year-old daughter, so like a lot of people here, sitting in the audience as well as sitting here on the panel, I have the passion for her furthering her education as well as being part of the education system, so.
Thank you. Mr. Fiocchi?
I think the biggest asset is my youth and bringing a fresh perspective to the board. The main goal of this is obvious for the children, and as it's been said before in this debate, that we want to bring children back here after they finish education. So that's the main thing. Also, being a business owner in town helps me as far as running a budget. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Holmes, what personal values do you possess that would make you an effective board member?
I'm a man of faith. I attend church every Sunday. I volunteer at my church. I've been in Big Brothers Big Sisters before in Vineland. Because of my youth, I have a better handle of what the students go through on a daily basis. Therefore, I'm independent. I have no grudges, no personal agendas. This is just a clean slate for me. People say, why don't you wait until you're much older? But I think, why wait when you can make a difference right now? In some ways, I'm idealistic, and I still have the school system in Vineland High School in me. Even after I wasn't successful in getting on the board last year, I still attended every meeting after that. I see where there's potential in our school district, and I'm passionate about moving this district forward.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Medio?
I think I have an excellent understanding of budgeting. I've been involved with that several times in the past. I also think that I was born and raised here. I've lived here my whole life. My actions, my work on the board, my work in the community shows that I'm proud of Vineland, and I want everyone else who lives here to be proud of Vineland, too.
Mr. Morvay?
Simply stated, sincerity, honesty, integrity. My background is accounting and business administration, strong in finance, which apparently moving forward under Christie will be tested. I feel that all that rolled up into one, along with the knowledge of both my daughter-in-law and my son being teachers. I have Sunday dinners like Blue Bloods, and we discuss school policies and things of that nature. So with that in mind, I've got a strong handle directly from my 2 children on what they perceive is needed moving forward, along with I hate to give my age away, my 69 years of Vineland of being true to the city. And bringing my family up here, my family coming back to Vineland, and bringing my grandchildren up here. So I have a vested interest in not only the school, but also the city as a whole.
Thank you. And Mr. Mounier, what about your personal values for effectiveness on the board?
Okay, well, I'm a mature person, a bit more mature than the fellow sitting next to me. I've had lots of experience. particularly in education. I've been in one situation or another in education since childhood.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not done.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm just.
I'm so
just
sorry. I
winding up.
apologize.
Yeah. Part of my educational experience, of course, is teaching. I was for several years a professor at Stockton College. I hold a PhD in archaeology, so I've been through education from A to Z. I also understand American democracy, and I understand how government is supposed to work, and I understand the role of members of deliberative bodies. So I think that what makes me potentially valuable, and I think valuable in the past, is the ability to look at situations from more than one perspective, or to look at things from my perspective and to understand what others have to say from theirs. As I had mentioned before, you don't solve problems unless you can understand them. So it's really important to have people that are experienced and smart enough to deal with the problems that arise.
Thank you. Mr. Sobrano, your personal values about effectiveness on the board?
Well, the last 20 years of my life have been devoted to education. I grew up in a home where 2 of my 3 siblings were teachers. Education was always discussed. And I do everything with passion. And this is how I've been an employee. This is how I've been a school board member this past year. And also, I've never really tested this, but I believe if you cut me, I will bleed red and gray, because this community is my home. My father, who was the old Italian type, said that deep roots are hard to pull out, and he was absolutely right. And I love this community. I want to see it grow and prosper, and having a robust and successful school district is one of the ways we can make that happen.
Thank you. And Ms. Smith?
I forgot to turn it on.
You can start over if you'd like.
Start
Yeah.
over. The personal values and attributes that I have are grounded in my deep and abiding religious faith, first and foremost. I'm hardworking. I'm passionate. I can be objective, listening to both sides and making a decision. I'm not afraid to speak up, even though that opinion may be unpopular. And I'm a good listener.
Thank you. We're now going to proceed to your closing statements, so you'll have 90 seconds to do that. And we'll start with Ms. Cruz.
In closing, I would like to say, no matter the outcome, I'm very blessed and happy that I was given this opportunity to be here, as well as to be involved in my community. I feel like I have a youthful and young approach, as well as the ability to communicate with others and work in group settings. I would love to be part of the Board of Education and start my role in impacting the youth and helping them bring back to Vineland as well. There are a lot of issues at hand that need to be addressed, like cyberbullying, bus safety, a lot of other issues that are kind of attacking our children today. And I would like to help in whatever manner possible, so thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fiocchi.
I'd like to thank everybody again for taking the time to come here tonight, as well as those that are viewing at home. If elected, I vow to work with fellow board members as a team to fight what's best for our teachers, staff, administrators, and of course, our children. We can only accomplish this by working together with a unified vision and supporting people within our district. I work to increase community support and communication between schools and parents. My goal is to bring a fresh perspective to the board, as well as youth, which I will utilize to make sure that the district continues to move in a positive direction. I will work to make sure kids have a safe place to learn and the best education available in our community. Leaning on experience and wisdom of our professionals, along with the goal of creating an environment in which children will be eager to learn, we can strengthen and continue to exemplify what a school district provides to its community. Thank you again.
Thank you. Mr. Holmes.
Friends, one thing I have in common with my fellow candidates, I hope, is that we all wish to provide a great future to the students of Vineland Public Schools. We live in troubling times where a fairness formula for public schools is anything but fair. We live in a world where it's possible for our governor to take $70 million from our students who need it the most. We live in a world where the students of the predominantly wealthy Hillsborough High School will see an increase of 89% in school funding when our students suffer. I am unafraid of these challenges, and I am ready to tackle these tremendous obstacles. 13 years as a student in Vineland Public Schools has given me the tools I need to face adversity and to know the difference between right and wrong. As a progressive city, Vineland is in dire need of revitalization. We need to move forward together as one, and it's time for a member of the new generation to champion the noble cause of education. President Harry S. Truman's words, though spoke decades ago, still ring true today. For our day and our children's day, education must become a continuing adventure in human understanding shared by all. Together we can shift the discussion of education from petty politics to actual and necessary reform. My hopes are high, but my expectations are grounded in reality. I will need the help of the community to propel these ideals so that we may truthfully say our first priority is the children. If you give me your vote and trust, I can offer you, the taxpayers of Vineland, my commitment to our children. Let's work together to move this district forward. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you. Mr. Medio.
Once again, I'd like to thank the Chamber for having us. I wish well to all of the people who are running. It takes a lot of heart to make this commitment, to put yourself out there in the public eye, and I commend all of them. There was one thing that was talked about, which was a tax increase. And I don't want the public to think that a tax increase is going to solve any of your problems. If any of you remember, you had a board that was, let's use the word, discussing a 2%, 4%, or a 6% increase in the face of what they said at one point was a $5 million deficit. And that's the low side of what was said. Earlier on, it was $10 million. But regardless of that, the fact is a 2% increase on your $20 million tax contribution to education is only $400,000. So that's less than 10% of your problem being solved. So even if you went to 6%, that's 1.2 million, and you still have a big problem. And if there's a big cut, as they are talking about doing, then you really have a big problem, and your tax increase is not going to solve that problem. And you need somebody on the board who understands the budget, who can look through the budget, and can find places to make cuts with the minimal pain possible. And that's going to involve a lot of hard decisions, and you're going to have to start that. I would say this board probably should start it right now. I think they should go out there, they should get a plan in place by December, and they should have a priority plan. The plan should say what you're going to do if there's a $10 million shortfall, if there's a $20 million shortfall, and that's what you have to do. That would be known as competent planning, and that would be known as doing the right thing for the city of Vineland, the taxpayers, the children, and the employees. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Morvay.
First and foremost, I want to thank everyone for coming out, and Dawn for putting this together. There's not much that I can sit here in the middle of the group and say that hasn't been said. I mean, we've all talked about the need for better education for our children. We've talked about the potential budgets. We've talked about things that at this point, 9 of us or 8 of us here have no control over until we sit on the board and start seeing what needs to be done. However, with that being said, the one thing that I feel very strongly about is my background in both accounting, business administration, and finance at this time of the potential school budget will bode well for the school board and the people of Vineland at large. No one wants to hear income tax or tax increases. The evaluation in the city of Vineland won't allow it to happen as far as the monies that we would need to raise. As Mr. Medio said, raising 6% won't get us a lot. This board and anybody that will sit on the board in the future is going to have some hard things to take care of. I, for one, feel that my position as far as a manager is concerned, my ability to adjust people in their positions that are needed, the synergy that's required between the school board and the city hall as far as purchasing is concerned has to be taken into consideration. I hope you find it in your hearts to vote for me for school board. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mounier.
Okay. I think when I finally put up the sign, it will say, mature, experienced, happy to say yes when justified, and not afraid to say no. With the budget coming up with a threatening cut from the state, I think we have to be very careful about tax increases. To the extent that adjustments are necessary to bring down the expenditures of the district, I would do what a tree surgeon does and start from the top and prune out the dead wood on the way down. It's very important that we preserve the relationships of staff members, especially the lower ranking ones that many people might think are unimportant. But people like aides, they spend more time with students than practically anyone else. So it's important to not to sacrifice them, not to sacrifice the arts and other programs that are vitally important to giving students a rounded education. I'm foursquare for a solid education for all students, and I will pledge myself to work to the utmost of my ability to serve on the board to see that that happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sobrana.
Again, thanks to Dawn and the Cathys and for hosting this forum tonight, and also to the folks who showed up. My sole interest in seeking re-election is to help create an educational environment that meets the needs of all of our children. To reach this goal, however, we have a lot of work to do. It's been discussed here tonight, the difficult economy in our state with static or declining funding puts fiscal responsibility front and center for our administration and our school board moving forward. We also face a three-part test: developing and improving our workforce, maintaining fair and equitable compensation for all employees, and holding a reasonable line on taxes. We also need to continue programs like our bus advertising and look for alternative sources of funding wherever possible, including business partnerships. This alone isn't going to close a tremendous budget deficit, but it will be a start. Despite this complex environment, I'm committed to joining the current and new board members in helping our district and therefore our community grow and flourish. That's my only agenda. I also feel strongly that effective management of our schools requires a disciplined effort to reach consensus. We must have schools that are safe for our students and our staff. We also need the best trained teachers in our classrooms and appropriate training for all staff. To compete in the global economy, our children need strong literacy and computer skills and therefore access to the most advanced technology. Each child should also have a support network that begins with family involvement, the attention and caring of our dedicated teachers, and the services offered by our guidance counselors, healthcare professionals, and social workers. I respectfully ask voters to support me when going to the polls on November 8th. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Smith.
Thank you. Thank you again for coming this evening to listen to our panel. I would just like to close with why I believe that I would be a good board member for this community, because I bring to the table a lot of experience in working with teachers, working with administrators, developing curriculum, the financial end of building a budget and sticking to it. And I think that I guarantee I will be the hardest working person that you could imagine. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of the Greater Vineland Chamber of Commerce, I thank the audience for attending tonight's forum, and I thank the candidates for their participation. Your decision to be a candidate is commendable, as it indicates you are interested in the education and welfare of our children in Vineland Public Schools, and we appreciate your commitment to serve the community. Please join me in a round of applause for our candidates. As we all know, this is a very busy election year, and it's very important to exercise your right to vote. The ballot will contain many levels of elected positions from the United States President down to your local school board. Vineland is also electing a mayor this year, and if you're interested, the Chamber is hosting a Vineland mayoral candidate debate on October 20th. It will be a luncheon at the Ramada, and it costs $25 to attend. We welcome everyone to join us. All are welcome, and you can register on our website at vinelandchamber.org or call us at the office at 691-7400. But please go to the polls on Election Day and November 8th and let your voice be heard. Thank you and good night.